naturally everyone has a role model, even if they don't know it or
Yeah.
they perceive that they have a role model. The person that maybe J-Pow was explaining may not think they have a role model or may not need to have a role model, but in some way, shape, or form, they are following a path, a footstep, a example of what someone else has done.
Welcome back, guys, to another session of Sleight of Mind. Today, we're going to be talking about role models, the impact they've had on our lives, and why they could be important and why you should potentially look for one in your life. I'm going to start the conversation off with you guys. I want to talk about, before we get into our role models and the impacts that they've had in our lives, what do you define as a role model? Do you have a basic definition of what you think it is to be a role model for someone?
So I think for me, it's always someone who you kind of aspire to. Maybe you look up to in the sense that you want the characteristics that they have, or you how they present themselves or what they do kind of enlightens you.
Yeah, same thing. It's just like example. It's just someone that gives you a good example. But like taking it into like the scientific facts, like humans are they're called like mirror species. So we like to mirror each other. So if you was in a room, let's say for example, or in a train and everyone crosses their arms the same way, like left hand over right hand, for example, then you're gonna cross your arm the same way too, because we're that mirror kind of species. And that's where I believe the role model aspect is of why we want a role model is because we want to mirror what they do. So it's like J-Pow said, someone that you want to be like.
There's a quote that always stuck with me, which for me really sums up role models. And I think J-Pow kind of touched on it when he said it's kind of by example. And the quote is, I think most people would have heard it. It's a fool never learns from his mistakes. A clever man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from others' mistakes. But for me, it sums up a lot of role models and what to expect from them. Okay, so again, before we dig into this and actually start talking about our personal role models, do you think it's important for somebody to have a role model?
I don't think it is important. I'm gonna go kind of other way with this. I'm gonna say it's not important. I feel if someone doesn't have a role model, it's either they're quite sure in the person they are,
Okay.
or they're happy with what they are, what they've achieved. Maybe you might just genuinely not be inspired by someone else, which might make you more of your own person as well in that sense.
I'm probably on the complete other end of that.
Yeah.
I think everyone should have and needs role models in their life. It's a quote by Jay Shetty, and he says like, you can't be what you can't see. And he's like, so you know, if you never saw a millionaire or a billionaire, you would never want to be that because you don't know what that's like. You may be underachieving in terms of your potential if you don't know what else is out there.
Yeah, I think like I'm in the middle. I'm more swaying towards the side of it's important to have one, but if you don't have one, that's okay as well. But the reason why I say that is I feel naturally everyone has a role model, even if they don't know it or they perceive that they have a role model. The person that maybe J-Pow was explaining may not think they have a role model or may not need to have a role model, but in some way, shape, or form, they are following a path, a footstep, a example of what someone else has done.
It goes back to kind of what you said about kind of mirroring and modeling. And that's from a child though, right? Like when you're getting up, you're going to model the people that are around you, your parents, your friends, whoever it may be. So I think even if you're not consciously accepting the fact that you have a role model, you're going to be learning from your surroundings and therefore the people around you. And in some way, shape or form, they're kind of your role models.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's dig into this. Does anyone want to kick off and talk about their role model, if there's any, maybe one or multiple?
Yeah, I'll go, man. So I have a few. I want to say my first one would be Will Smith. I've always liked Will Smith. I liked his energy. I liked his work ethic. And when I started looking into the law of attraction, when I was like 16, 17 years old, I read the book The Secret. I started obviously digging in quite deep into the law of attraction and how to bring things into your path and how to set yourself up for the future, he was one of the main inspiring videos and interviews that I watched on how he thinks, and his whole life he's been preacher of the law of attraction. But that work ethic that he has is something that I want to aspire to, you know what I mean? That positive attitude, that positive thinking. I guess another sort of role model for me would be Tony Robbins as well. Again, same attitude, the way he was brought up, you know, he came through hard times, and now he's able to pass that message on to everybody else. My parents, my mom is probably one of the biggest role models in my life, actually. She's always been my teacher without teaching, obviously. She just parented me, and I'm the way I am because of the way she has been to me, and mentored me through the years. So now we kind of work together.
I can go next. I think for me, biggest role model has always probably been my dad, actually. Obviously, for me, for those who don't know, I lost my dad when I was 21. But same thing as you were saying, Jamie. Like, I was very close to my dad while growing up, and his thing was always to teach me the different aspects of life. So he had come over to England with no money at all, was able to create a sort of foundation, started his own business up here as well. He was faced with cancer while we were quite young, lost everything, built everything back up again. And like to this day, I still remember, like, whenever anyone asked him, like, how are you feeling? It's always been, I'm perfectly fine. And I feel like that willpower is the thing that kept carrying him on, even though he had multiple failures in life, but it just kept him striving forward. When I was growing up, a big role model for me was actually like someone like Michael Jackson. Again, work ethic was insane. Another two guys, and I don't know their stories inside out, but it's people like Arnold Schwarzenegger and The Rock as well. The people have come from nothing and made something. Because turning nothing into something is probably the best thing ever. That's what I find as aspiring to me and as a role model.
For me, I think touching on a lot of similar ones that you guys have already mentioned. So for me, parents and grandparents have always been a big one. Celebrities, again, a couple that you've already mentioned. Will Smith also would have been on mine. Tony Robbins, again, another big one. For me, a pretty recent one would be Jay Shetty. Massive one for me at the moment. He's a lot of the kind of wisdom he's been sharing when I discovered him in the last year and a bit ago, I think have massively changed the path that I've been on and the direction that my life has kind of been heading in. Because I mean, we've all had our time now to share what we believe and what we think are our role models, and we've all come up with quite similar ones.
Yeah.
Like, what is it about those people that makes them role models for so many millions of people?
So I think for me is two aspects, and we already talked about this, is the positivity nature. Is that we've always seen them in a positive light. They would have obviously had their downtimes, but we've never been exposed to that, and we've always seen the positivity that they've had despite the adversity that they went through. And I think that's a massive thing that you can kind of feed off as well, is that positivity in energy.
The energy, exactly. Energy is the one.
Energy.
Another criteria that they all fit in that we mentioned, and I'm sure other people will mention theirs as well, is that they all have a positive effect on other people. They're all out to help other people. They're not selfish with it. They've all done something on a massive scale to bring positiveness to other people and lots of other people too. So that's another criteria I think that would fit into why you choose someone as a role model. Or even if you want to be a role model yourself, how many people are you affecting? How many people are you bringing positivity in their lives?
Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to check in tomorrow where the full length video of this will drop. Like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you then.